Students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is urbanization in developing countries, and here are your objectives. Pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab terms and take some notes. In the last lesson, you learned about the migration transition model, which says that migration patterns in a country change in predictable ways as the country increases its level of development. And today, we're going to focus on just one aspect of the model: internal migration in developing countries. Those are the countries that are in stage 2 or stage 3 of the demographic transition. You learned earlier that most internal migration in these countries is from rural areas to urban areas. And to put this another way, there are a lot of people in less developed countries that are moving from the countryside to cities. The movement of people to cities is called urbanization. You might have learned about urbanization in history class when you studied the Industrial Revolution. In the 1800s, the first period of widespread urbanization occurred in England as people moved to cities like Birmingham and Manchester to work in factories. You probably learned that these cities were polluted, crowded, and not very pleasant places to live. More or less, the same process is happening now. But today, it's not happening in England, it's happening in developing countries. As we continue to study urbanization in the modern world, I want you to think about what you've learned about the Industrial Revolution in England or in the US, and think about what it is about modern urbanization that seems similar and what things seem different. In class, you're going to look at some reasons people in developing countries are leaving the countryside. Those are the push factors. But now let's look at some pull factors that attract people to cities in these countries. By far, the number one pull factor is job opportunities, especially jobs that pay wages. Many of these jobs are in factories, and this picture shows a garment factory or clothing factory, which is a major industry in many cities in the developing world currently. In rural areas, people often struggle to earn a living as farmers, so they're attracted by the opportunity to work for a reliable wage, even if the wages are low. Another pull factor is better services like healthcare and education. As you'll see in class, services in big cities in the developing world are not the best, but they're still better than what many people are able to obtain in rural areas. The next term is megacity, which is any city that has more than 10 million people. Megacities are not unique to developing countries. There are cities with 10 million people in both rich countries and poor countries. But there are only a few megacities in rich countries, and they're not growing very fast. On the other hand, in poorer countries, cities in general are growing rapidly, and there are today many more megacities in less developed countries than there are in more developed countries. Here is a map of megacities around the world. As you can see, there are some megacities in the global north, like New York City in the US or Tokyo in Japan. But most of the megacities are in the global south, where they are also growing faster. Some of the megacities that you're going to learn about in this class are Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Dhaka in Bangladesh, Manila, the capital of the Philippines, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, both in China. Take a moment and look at the map. Jot down a few of these cities along with their country. The last term is slum, which is also called a squatter settlement or an informal settlement. Slums are places where people live illegally without having any claim to the land that they're on. And as a result, they can be kicked out of their homes at any moment if the government or a developer decides to use the land for something else. In large cities in the developing world, slums are often where new migrants from the countryside live when they first arrive in the city. Slums are usually found on undesirable land, like places that are polluted or that flood frequently. They are very crowded, and basic services like plumbing or electricity might be lacking. In class, you'll look more at slums and at other aspects of urban life in less developed countries. And now it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. I will see you in class. Bye, students.